Welcome to the BTC show. My name is Charles Umeh. So one thing about this episode, if you ever followed the origin of the show when I wrote my first book, Breaking the Coconut, you understand why we had to tell the story again. I think I told the first story about a young girl that was amazing in school, young lecturer. Now the second part of the story is looking at that different version of my Breaking the Coconut story. One of my characters in my book has evolved. And I had to tell this story because I know all of them have, and we all evolve in our own journey. Then Dr. Ngozi Marion's story should inspire you. Welcome to the BTC show. Watch this.
Hi, Angie.
Hi, Charles.
Good to meet you.
It's good to see you again.
It's been a couple of years.
Yes, it's been.
So for someone that hasn't seen you for the past, at the stage you got missing, it's not as if, and nobody kidnapped you.
Yes.
But what has it been like for you from the NG that was on everyone's face as a lecturer to the NG that disappeared to maybe go and change the world? So what has been going on with you?
After my master's in Nigeria, I wanted to pursue further studies.
Okay.
And wanted to do something impactful, which has been the trademark of what I've been doing previously, working with underrepresented groups.
Okay.
So I came to England to do a doctorate, and I wanted to find out how my PhD could be of help to disabled people in Nigeria, being that in Nigeria we have significant number of disabled people, about 35 million of them.
Okay.
So I wanted to do something that has never been done, because there is not much literature surrounding how the media could impact the lives of disabled people, especially in Africa. So I set out to be the first voice in that area, and yeah, that's currently what I do. I'm still in the field post PhD.
So let's go back a bit.
Yeah.
I won't ask you why you left Nigeria. Don't worry, I'll skip that question.
Okay.
But how has it been for you? We have the good thing about the current future of work is that the role of underprivileged people, that's that aspect that we actually don't think is more important to us. Why did you choose that aspect of work, and how has it been for you from comparing your role in academia in Nigeria and your role now in the UK? What's the journey like for you? Because the last time we saw you, you were NG single, you're NG married, you're NG family, you're NG evolving. What has the journey been like? Because at the end of the day, there were young girls that looked at you and were like, I want to be like this. Most times people skip the story of their process. Not because they don't want to, but maybe sometimes we don't ask them. So what has it been like for you evolving from that young girl that aced everything and finally is in a world where you're like seeing everything 360? What's it like for you?
I think you've asked me like 3 questions in one now, so I'm trying to determine
choose them gradually.
where to begin. The work that I do, because I have been interested in diversity and inclusion in the workplace, not just in the workplace, in every space of life, representation matters to me.
Okay.
And back then, what I did as a young student was also about representation, about getting people who are there and seeing themselves as role models, or people who are doing something exceptional, and spotlighting those kind of people for other young people to emulate. Okay. So I've always been interested in some sort of empowerment, things that resemble forward thinking, things that would impress young people, and not just impress them, but get them to think on their toes and get them to work to make society a better place. So being interested in disability studies, or in the field of things around EDI and inclusion, is for me a way of continuing to impact on society and continuing to impact on underrepresented groups and groups that have been excluded in societal discourse.
Okay.
So when I began my journey to a PhD, I was interested in a PhD that would not just end on the shelves of the library, or a PhD that would not just end in thesis. So And I started achieving that in my second year of PhD when I got funding from the ESRC, that's the Economic Social Research Council in the UK. So they gave me some funding in 2021 to do, there was a workshop I did for disabled people in Leicestershire and disabled people in Africa, because it was a hybrid event where people came together to co-produce knowledge on what they want, media representation of disabilities to be. Okay. Because before now it's been ableist, it's been non-disabled people being cast as disabled characters on screen, and a lot of stereotypes around the disabled body, and which culminated into ableist attitudes in real life, where people think disabled people are not able to help themselves. Okay. So I did that. I got the first funding and it was good. It was a good progress. It's like, Angie is progressing from what she's always been doing as an undergraduate and as a young lecturer,
which is youth and impact. Yes,
into this other sort of impact on an underrepresented group. Last year when I did a postdoctoral fellowship, I got an additional funding in February to do something else, to produce a toolkit now for people who work in television and people who work in cinema, to see this is what these people are about and this is what the kind of change we want to happen. And it's been very impactful, especially having a toolkit. And then people say, yeah, that's that girl that did that toolkit, and that's the toolkit we are using.
Okay,
and
perfect.
It's on my research website. You're able to download it, and I've gotten feedback to say this has been impactful, and we are using these guidelines that you've co-produced with disabled people themselves to set out on how we film and the kind of plots and stories that we tell about disabilities. So my journey is progressing, and it's still within the field of impact and change,
okay,
which is what I've always been about. I've always wanted to effect changes, no matter how little, no matter how small, and to make people smile, especially people who are underrepresented. So I think in that sense, if I get your question right, my journey is progressing. In that regard.
Okay, no, you got my question right. That's nice. Good. So we'll go back to, interestingly, we wrote a book together.
Yes.
And the idea for that was looking at you and what you were doing in your own circle. There's a bridge most young people finally, most times when people start with impact and making change at a very early age, something happens. They get to a stage where the real world gets to tell them that impact doesn't put bread on your table. And most times, that narrative, I've had that conversation with most people that started with impact. And the conversation is that you have to finally go fight for yourself. For you to have started with that route, you follow that path of impact, and you've evolved from that journey. What is it like for you? What do you think is your own biggest lesson in this journey? Because whether you like it or not, there's always the next person looking at us, about to make their own journey, or more concerned about what the end goal would be. What has it been for you? And I'm counting your achievements. Your achievements, whether we both like it or not. Very few people start from. You have a family. You see, the you 5 or 10 years ago is different from the you now because of everything that's happened to you. What's it like you've seen on your own journey that you think a young person in Nigeria or in South Korea or in any part of the world, what do you think has been your own learning curves in this journey that has made you who you are now?
I understand the fact about, impact is not putting food on the table. You need to get a real job.
Okay.
People do say that, but my own experience is a bit different, and I think that's also shaped my belief system about these things.
Yeah.
I believe if you find what you love and do what you love, the money will come within what you love. I know it's not always true, really, but if mainstream job or working in an office space is what you love, and that's giving you money, we make impact differently. impact shouldn't be, people's traditional perception of what impact is. For example, I know some people would say they are called into ministry, but they don't have churches, right?
Okay.
There are people who do ministry of feeding people, making sure that, people around them are not hungry. To me, that's some sort of ministry, and they find satisfaction in doing that. So if what you love doing is to work, 9 to 5,
Okay.
and you're making a contribution in that regard, I think that's enough. For me, it was, going to the field and interacting with people and trying to have measurable impact on people's lives that I work with.
Okay.
And that has put food on my table. And achievement is measured differently.
Okay.
What
That's a
one
nice
person
part.
considers achievement may not be what somebody else considers an achievement. For example, when I started out on my PhD, most people think I shouldn't have embarked on a PhD.
Why? Because it's like book.
Yeah, and no, especially being a Nigerian girl.
Okay.
I was unmarried, and then I was going to England for a PhD, and I didn't have a fiance or a boyfriend. As I was really single to stupor, and then I was complicating matters with traveling out of the country to pursue a PhD when I should be trying to sort out the husband element of my life. But I mean, it was what I wanted to do. I trusted myself enough to say, if the other elements of my life are going to fit together, then you should find me doing what I love to do. And that was the faith that I left with for England. And who would have believed it? I was going to meet my husband in England, get married in England, and do a destination wedding in Greece, and all of these things that I never envisioned I was going to have. Because I somehow wasn't a traditional Cinderella girl thinking about how my wedding would be or how my family would be, but I was in the midst of doing what I love, and then I found the thing society was thinking was an achievement for me at that time of my life. But then I was loving what I'm doing and achieving things for myself that I love to do, and then marking societal what's it called now?
Milestones.
Yeah, as well. So impact, or trying to do things that would impact society, they are not entirely bad. And also, do not forget, I was doing these things, and I also have a job on the side.
Yeah.
A job which I feel was also impactful, or I was using it to impact young lives as well. But the job was paying salaries. So I had the money, I was putting into my passion. Okay. Even though I was doing something I was passionate about, which is being in the classroom. So if there's a way young people can merge passion and money, because I think money is really important.
Yep.
I think that would really help to make sure they live very happy and fulfilling lives, and not just doing, marking societal milestones and, doing what they are told to do.
Go ahead, we're listening. The choir is, the crowd is clapping. Go ahead.
What? I feel like I'm on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Yes, you want to be a billionaire. It's both of us that want to be this millionaire. The money is on the other side, but the crowd are listening. So I love that part of the story, because I think it's a conversation we don't always see. Not because it's not important, but because everybody assumes you should know.
Yeah.
The passion and the money aspect. So if I was sitting and listening to you with my phone in Nnamdi Azikiwe University in Oka, and I just watched it, what you're telling me is merge passion and work. Go and find a job if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, find a job, but don't just find any job just for job's sake. Find a job that you love to do.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes any sense. Like, there's a distinction between just find a job.
Yeah.
And finding something that you're really dedicated to, something you're committed to, something you love, but that also pays you money.
Okay. So
because in my case,
very important.
I love teaching. I love to be in the classroom.
Perfect.
Because I feel, it's a hefty responsibility to have young people look up to you, and to know that somehow you're molding their lives. But I love to do that. It is my passion.
It's what you want.
But it's also a passion that was paying
Yeah.
And it was helping me to fuel the other passion, which was slam at the time.
Okay.
If you get what I mean.
Yeah, Slam,
And then-
Slam was the magazine. Slam
Yes.
was the
was the
NGO.
initiative, was the NGO. So
Yeah.
I had a job that was helping me to put money into
Yeah.
that other one.
Your passion project.
Yeah, and it's not just a job, it was a job that gave me some sort of pedigree in society. So I was able to, go get funding from people and tell them, I'm a lecturer and this is what I do. So they know that you have integrity. She's a lecturer, she's not going to run away with her money. So they give me the money to put into the other thing that was also passion. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, it does. It does. Connect the dots.
So it's not just, about getting a job and being depressed in some job, but getting a job that actually you're passionate about.
Okay. Looking back at your journey now, I'm concerned because there's a saying that society lacks people they look up to, and whether we like it or not, there's always a mirror in front of us.
Yeah.
And people always want a God to come down, either to worship or to look up to. It's not that it's a vacuum that has always been there. People want to look up to something. People want to mirror things, and we're all mirroring things, either from the things you hear, the things you see, and the concern has always been that the right people that have the right narrative have made up their mind that their stories don't count, and because of that, most people pick up the ones they choose to, the loudest in the room, and the loudest in the room is not always the right voice. So I'm asking this question because you might not want to be loud about your own journey. So, but it makes sense to look at your own journey and say, okay, what's it like for you and your own journey now? For someone that just wants to pick up a mirror.
What's it like for me in my own journey now?
What's Marion? What's Ngozi like? What's life for you at this stage of your life? Evolving from school to work to marriage to family to juggling everything. What's your own biggest lessons at this season of your life? Yeah.
I think the biggest lesson so far is that at the moment, it might not look it when you follow your heart or when you follow after what you want to do.
Did you follow your heart?
Yes, I did. But like Steve Jobs said, that's the founder of Apple, you don't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking backwards. Some of the little decisions I kept making then as a young girl that led me to where I am today, they were not really making sense to me at that time, if you get what I mean.
Okay.
For example, there was a time, after my master's and the whole thing that came with it, it was like, yes, you're an academic now, you have a job, the Nigerian thing, you have a job, this is the time for you to get married.
Okay.
I wanted to get married.
Okay.
If you get what I mean.
Yeah.
But I wasn't seeing the kind of person I want.
Your husband was not in Nigeria.
Yeah, ultimately I found out. When I decided to, come for a PhD, it wasn't a fearless decision. It wasn't, yes, I know what I'm doing, I'm going to, it was a decision I had to take. I was very sure I was taking that decision, but I wasn't sure what that decision was going to bring for me. But I just knew I had to go with it,
Okay.
So the lesson is sometimes when you think about, what you're doing with your life or what you're going to do with your life and what you're convinced about, it might not exactly make any sense at the moment. It might, it's like, life is like a series of random events sometimes that just, keep happening, and you're trying to look for meaning. Why? What does this mean? And what does that not mean? But ultimately, I've realized that you're not able to connect the dots looking forward. It is at that point when you feel like you've arrived, you just look back and like, oh, that's why this had to happen. That's why I had to do this. If I hadn't done this, I wouldn't have gotten this. And whatever happens in your life is as a result of the choices you've made.
Yep.
If I hadn't probably made a choice to leave Nigeria to come for PhD in England, I would probably not have married the person I married as a husband, for example. I would have probably done a different PhD, for example. I would have probably not gotten the sort of fundings I've gotten in the UK, for example. So, I mean, it's whatever choice you make, you have different sets of consequences for different choices. So I think that's one of the biggest lessons. It's made me more careful. When I was younger, I won't say I was careless in my decisions. I was more carefree because, you know, you're young and you think like you have 50 lives to live. You're not bothered about anything. But when you're older, with maturity, it's like you are more careful. You're slower to act. Some sort of like you're trying to make sure that whatever you're doing is the right thing that you're doing, because now you understand that whatever it is that you do have actual real life consequences. So I think that's where I am at. That's one of the biggest lessons.
Okay, thank you. I have both here. How's your husband? How are the kids? How's everything around you? How's family? Good. Send our regards to him.
I will.
Okay, so it's time for me to let you go.
Thank you.
So before I let you go, I have coconut for you. So you see this coconut? You see this coconut is a gift.
Okay.
When I was in Nigeria, what we used to do is we give our guests the task of breaking it, and we'll see how good they are in making choices. So, but because I don't know what the law states here, I'm careful about how people break things. So I'll just give it coconut.
Thank you.
So this is a special coconut.
So is this like Nigerian coconut, the real one?
So I don't know what you mean by Nigerian. This is coconut. It's coconut.
No, I want the Nigerian one.
Don't worry. When you open it, you know that's Nigerian coconut. But it's good to have you. It's good to have you. It's good to have you here. I'm rooting for you. It's good to see your evolving story. It's good to hear that part of you, even though I know I had to drag you out for this. But don't worry, I won't drag you again. I'll drag you for good reasons. Thank you for sharing your time with us.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's time for you to subscribe. Subscribe to the BTC show. If you don't subscribe, how would we know the number of those who watch it? Subscribe. Click the subscribe button. Follow us on YouTube, Breaking the Coconut Show. Yes, Breaking the Coconut Show. Thank you. Thank you for breaking your own coconut.